Log entry 47. Human logging relies on single operators with crude handheld saws. Inefficient. Will be done by lunch.
The Melora observation ship descended through the Oregon mist and touched down on a remote logging road. A battered red pickup rolled up the dusty road, and a weathered human in plaid stepped out.
You are the designated human operator? I am Observer Kale, lead of the Melora Forestry Survey.
Patrick O'Donnell. You can call me Patrick.
No cranial implants, no exoskeleton. How does this species survive its own gravity?
Kale informed the human they would observe a sustainable harvest. Patrick only nodded, chewing on a toothpick. The Melora team followed him deeper into the forest, their scanning drones humming as they cataloged the towering Douglas firs. Kale asked how long a single felling took. Patrick shrugged. Depends on the tree.
Cryptic. Probably a stall tactic. This will be a short, tedious observation.
Patrick led the Melora team to a clearing and gestured at an enormous Douglas fir, its trunk scarred with age.
That one. 200 foot. She's coming down between those two young sentinels.
4 feet. The tightest target I've ever recorded for a manual fell. The computer is already spitting errors.
Kale's data slate ran the numbers, overlaying wireframe trajectories. The probability blinked red, 0.0002%.
0.002%. That's worse than a crash landing in a crosswind. This is not a harvest. It's a gamble. If he even nicks a reserve trunk, the Earth Agency will revoke our permits. We'll be back to orbital surveys.
The two junior observers shuffled backward, their vests crunching on pine needles.
99.9998% of numbers ain't seen a day in the woods. Numbers don't have hands.
He pressed his palm flat against the bark, eyes half closed, feeling the grain.
Either he senses what our scanners cannot, or he's a lucky fool. Either way, this will end badly. Operator, I am formally advising you that our simulations deem this fell suicidal. I must recommend aborting for safety.
She's gonna land between them two. Always does.
He spat a stream of brown tobacco juice into the dirt and crouched to inspect the lower bark with a practiced squint.
We will record every microsecond. If the reserves are compromised, the contract is null, and this mission a failure.
The junior observer scrambled backward, extending drone pylons and calibrating wide-angle lenses with trembling hands.
If this goes wrong, the diplomatic fallout could span 3 systems, and I will be at the center. I've recorded my objection. If the reserves are damaged, the liability is yours alone.
Fair enough. Now step back. I need to read this tree.
He placed both palms flat on the trunk, humming a low note as he traced the grain. The drones whirred to life, their status lights blinking cold blue, capturing every angle as the team braced for catastrophe. Patrick walked to the back of his pickup and hoisted the steel chainsaw from its cradle.
Every instinct screams to abort this insanity, but the contract binds me to observe.
The human pulled the starter cord once. The engine coughed and then roared to life, a violent rasp that echoed through the ancient trunks.
What kind of creature wields a screaming blade for manual labor?
Shouldering the idling saw, Patrick walked toward the tree, his boots crunching on duff and wood chips. He set the bar lightly against the trunk, testing the wood with a short scoring cut. A spray of golden sawdust erupted, clinging to his beard and flannel.
He's checking the grain deflection. Even our scanners can't detect that in real time.
Satisfied, Patrick eased the saw off the bark and adjusted his stance, planting his boots. The Melora team stood frozen, recording. The moment of commitment had arrived. Patrick revved the saw and plunged the bar into the base of the Douglas fir, carving the open face notch with surgical precision.
He's cutting deeper than standard practice. The hinge will be far too narrow to control the direction.
The saw screamed through the wood, chips spraying in an amber arc that caught the morning light. Kale's data slate recalculated the hinge width and blinked a new warning. Structural integrity compromised.
The hinge is dangerously thin. If he misjudges the back cut, the tree could pivot and crush the reserves.
Patrick didn't look at the data. He kept his eyes on the cut, adjusting the angle minutely as the bar sank deeper.
He's compensating for a deviation in the grain. The saw is following a path no simulation could predict.
He finished the face cut and pulled the saw free, the engine idling as he inspected the notch. The open-faced notch yawned, perfectly symmetrical, the hinge line a thin ribbon of heartwood. Patrick nodded once and stepped back, his expression unreadable. The undercut was done. Patrick swung the saw to the opposite side of the trunk and set the bar against the back cut line.
The back cut. One wrong angle, and the hinge snaps, turning the tree into an uncontrolled missile.
The saw bit into the wood, the engine roaring as he drove the cut deeper, watching the kerf with unwavering eyes. A sudden gust of wind swept through the canopy, and the great fir swayed, needles hissing.
Wind shear. Our trajectory models never accounted for this. The tree is moving offline.
The junior observer stumbled back, one dropping his data slate into the duff.
This is it. The reserves are gone. Our mission, his life.
But Patrick didn't pause. He tilted the bar a fraction, compensating for the wind's pressure, and continued cutting.
Impossible. He felt the shift before the sensors registered it.
The creak of straining wood filled the clearing. The back cut was moments from severing the hinge. The hinge gave way with a sharp crack, and the 200-foot fir leaned into its final fall. Patrick stepped back, setting the chainsaw down, and drew a small silver whistle from his vest. He pressed it to his lips and blew. The single, piercing note echoed through the trees, sharp as a gunshot. The Melora team flinched. Drones wobbled. Every data slate flashed red as trajectory alarms triggered.
A whistle. The human announces a potential catastrophe with a whistle, as if it were a mere signal. Warnings cascading, impact imminent, reserves in danger. All probability models collapsing to zero.
The great trunk accelerated, bowing the air, needles and small branches tearing loose in the swift descent.
This is the end of my career. The end of human cooperation. The end of everything we've built.
Time seemed to stretch. The tree filled every camera frame, a green-black blur against the brightening morning sky. For a breathless heartbeat, it hung in the air, committed, unstoppable, inches from the gap. The trunk slammed into the gap with a thunderclap, and for a blinding instant, it seemed destined to clip the left reserve. But a subtle twist in the hinge, a final gift of Patrick's angled cut, nudged the monster straight, and it slid home. It settled between the two sentinels with only inches to spare, 10.5 on one side, 9.25 on the other. A violent cloud of dust, needles, and shredded bark erupted, blotting out the sun for a breath. The ground shuddered beneath their boots, a deep, seismic thump, and then the forest fell utterly silent.
Number. This is a sensor error, a hallucination. Physics does not allow this.
The great Douglas fir lay exactly where Patrick had pointed, its trunk a straight line between the reserve trees.
The simulations were wrong. I was wrong. Everything we know about manual operators is wrong.
No one spoke. The Melora team stood frozen, their instruments still screaming silent alarms. The clipboard slipped from Cale's trembling hand, thudding softly onto the pine needles. For 2 full minutes, no one moved. The only sound was the soft settling of sawdust. Cale's data slate finally resolved the clearance. 10.7 inches on one side, 9.3 on the other.
10 inches, not feet. Inches. The tree missed both reserves by less than the width of my own hand.
Patrick calmly shut off the chainsaw, the sudden quiet deafening.
I prepared for disaster. I never prepared for this.
The team stood like statues, their species' entire body of forestry knowledge collapsing inward.
They sent us to observe a primitive. What we witnessed was something else.
Cale's fanged mouth hung open, but no words came. The clipboard lay forgotten at his feet. Patrick wiped the sweat from his brow, his expression unchanged, as if he'd merely swatted a fly.
Everything I know is wrong, and I don't know what to do with that. How did you calculate that angle? Our instruments show the trees are nearly touching. It's geometrically impossible.
Been doing it 42 years. You just feel the tree.
Feel the tree. He says it as if it's as simple as reading a gauge. Our science has no category for this, but the wind shift, you adjusted mid-cut. There's no sensor that can detect such a microvariable in real time.
Tree talks to you. If you listen, the bark, the lean, the smell of the sap. Numbers miss that.
Intuition, a concept we've never applied to forestry. It's entirely alien to our methodology. Download every microsecond of sensor data, high-speed footage, gravimetric readings, everything. Now.
The junior observers snapped out of their trance and scurried to connect data cables, their hands still trembling. Patrick shouldered his saw and ambled toward his pickup, leaving the team in a whirlwind of frantic activity.
I don't understand this yet, but I will. This will change everything we know about manual forestry.
Back aboard the observation ship, Cale sealed himself in the data analysis pod with the raw footage. He played the felling at 1,000th normal speed, watching the tree descend frame by frame. The hinge twist jumped out, an imperceptible yaw that steered the monster straight into the gap.
He made that adjustment before the tree committed to the lean. Preemptive. Impossible without real-time pressure sensing.
He overlaid the grain deflection map with the chainsaw angle data from every millisecond of the cut.
Every cut compensated for a specific grain anomaly. Thousands of micro-adjustments. No algorithm could have predicted them.
The data painted a picture of a human brain integrating tactile feedback at speeds no machine could match.
This is not skill. It's an organic supercomputer, trained by 42 years of listening to trees.
He sat motionless, the cold blue light of the holograms washing over his astonished face.
I can't write this as a standard observation report. What we witnessed defies everything we thought we knew about manual forestry.
Cale opened a quantum channel to the Melora Forestry Survey Directorate on the homeworld. The council chamber materialized on his display, and the 7 directors stared back with skeptical eyes.
I am transmitting the raw data now. The human operator felled a 200-foot fir into a 4-foot gap using only a handheld saw and a whistle. Clearance, 10 inches.
A long pause echoed. Then the lead director spoke, her voice cold. This data cannot be disseminated. It would destabilize the entire automated forestry sector.
It is my scientific duty to report the truth. If human intuition outperforms our best models, we must study it, not hide it.
The channel closed with a final, ominous warning. Compile the paper with extreme caution or face review.
If I publish this, I could lose my position, my funding, everything. But if I don't, I betray the very purpose of our survey, integrity over safety. The truth must be known. I'll write the paper and face the consequences.
He opened a new document and began typing, the tree felling footage looping silently beside him. The title glowed on the screen. Earth maintains predictive geometrical modeling beyond galactic standards. In manual operators, for 3 nights, Cale didn't sleep. He lived in the data, rearranging graphs and annotating the impossibility. The paper grew dense with technical analysis, but the core image was the tree hovering an inch from the reserve trunks. At dawn on the 4th day, he sent the completed paper to the Melora Journal of Xenoforestry. Minutes later, an automated filter flagged it for the Compact's Science Council. The phrase "beyond galactic standards" triggered an emergency review.
Minutes? It's just a forestry paper. Why would it need a Science Council review?
He refreshed his feed and saw a meeting convened for that very hour. 7 members, highest clearance, emergency seal.
What have I done? This isn't controversial. It's existential. I've poked a hole in the foundation of our entire forestry economy.
Late that night, a priority message materialized on his personal console, glowing blood red against the blue ship interior. This paper cannot be released. You have opened something. Stay on Earth until further notice.
Stay on Earth. I am not just an observer anymore. I am a witness to something my own people want to hide.
A week passed in tense silence. Cale monitored every feed, waiting for the hammer to fall. Then a leaked paragraph from the paper appeared on a fringe galactic news outlet. The headline screamed, "Human, lumberjack shatters physics with 2 cuts and a whistle." Images of Patrick and the felled tree spread across every galactic feed. The Melora Compact moved swiftly to classify the full document, sealing it from public view.
They classified it, but the leak is already out. There's no unringing the spell.
He stared at the feeds, a strange pride flickering beneath his horror.
I wrote the paper to document the impossible. Now, it's a galactic scandal, but the truth is out.
A news ticker showed the image of the tree wedged between the reserve trunks, captioned, "2 cuts only."
Whatever happens next, they can't bury the truth. A human did this. I saw it.
3 formal offers materialized on Kale's data slate, each from a different galactic university.
Visiting professor positions, full galactic standard salaries. They want him to teach what can't be taught in any classroom.
He tracked the human to a small town diner. Patrick sat in a corner booth, a stack of pancakes steaming before him. Patrick didn't look up. He just kept chewing a fork steady in his calloused hand.
Operator Patrick O'Donnell. I bear formal offers from the University of Central Melora, Tovari Science Nexus, and the Cross Spiral Institute.
He activated a holographic projection, and the booth filled with shimmering salary figures, AI assistants, and tenure terms. Patrick chewed slowly, his eyes moving from the floating numbers back to his pancakes.
You have been granted the titles and resources to teach your craft across the galaxy. Will you accept any of these offers?
Patrick set his fork down, the clink loud in the silent diner.
I ain't flying across no galaxy. Sundays are for fishing.
But the resources, the AI assistants, the salary alone could fund an entire university department on Melora.
Patrick picked up his coffee mug and took a slow sip, unbothered.
A professor don't need to know what I know. That comes from dirt and sap and chaps and chaps.
But you could teach the theory. Your predictive modeling alone could revolutionize galactic forestry.
You can't teach feel in a lecture hall. You learn it by standing in a forest for 40 years.
Kale's arguments died on his tongue. The human wasn't being obstinate. He was speaking a deeper truth.
He's right. We can't replicate this in a sterile lab. The knowledge is inseparable from the dirt, the sap, the hands.
Slowly, Kale lowered the holographic display, the salary figures and AI icons dissolving into static.
We've been trying to extract the knowledge, but the knowledge is the man, his hands, the soil. We need a different approach, not a lecture, an apprenticeship.
Kale left the diner in silence and returned to the observation ship, his mind churning.
Directorate. The human refuses all academic offers. He asserts the knowledge is embodied, learned through decades of dirt and sap.
A lengthy pause followed. Then the channel flickered with dense encryption. Start human apprenticeship program. 1 Melora student per year, full funding. Under Operator O'Donnell. Earth Bureau has approved.
Not a professor, but a master. They want students to stand with him in the woods, not sit in a lecture hall.
2 days later, Kale found Patrick at a logging site, a fallen fir already being limbed. The chainsaw idled as Patrick drank from a canteen, his face flushed from exertion.
Operator O'Donnell, the Melora Compact proposes a new arrangement. Apprenticeships. 1 student per year to learn from your hands, not a book.
Long as they stay out of the boat on Sundays, and they bring their own chaps.
The human apprenticeship program was born, sealed with a handshake and the faint smell of 2-stroke fuel. 2 years later, in the same Oregon forest, a sleek Melora transport touched down on a dusty road, carrying the first apprentice. The young alien stepped out, clutching a standard-issue data slate, his oversized white eyes wide as he scanned the immense Douglas firs. Patrick walked over, a pair of chaps slung over his arm, and tossed them at the apprentice's feet along with a dented hard hat.
First lesson ain't the saw. It's the tree. Put your hand right here on this bark.
The apprentice pressed his slim blue fingers against the rough, moss-flecked bark. His expression was bewildered.
Close your eyes. Feel the grain. This tree has been standing here 187 years. It's got a story to tell.
For a long moment, the apprentice stood motionless, his breathing slowing, the data slate forgotten at his side. Then his fanged mouth parted slightly. not in disbelief, but in dawning wonder as the tree's story began to seep through his fingertips.
That's it. Now you are listening. The rest comes with 40 years of dirt and sweat.
The first human apprenticeship had truly begun, not with a chainsaw, but with a touch. One afternoon, Cale returned to the logging site to monitor the apprenticeship's progress. He found Patrick seated on a stump, Lucas kneeling beside him, a chainsaw chain draped across their laps.
So the human is training his own kin alongside the off-worlder. Wisdom passed through blood and grit.
Now listen close. A sharp tooth hums, a dull one grinds. The sound tells you when to stop filing.
I hear it. The sharp ones sing higher.
Patrick nodded and handed Lucas the file. The young man set to work, his movements careful, mimicking the old man's rhythm. The Melora apprentice stood a few feet away, his data slate recording, his oversized eyes wide with fascination.
They learn not just the skill, but the very senses required. Sound, touch, patience. This is not forestry, it's a rite of passage.
Patrick watched Lucas with a quiet pride, a faint smile hidden in his beard. The file rasped rhythmically, a legacy sharpening with every stroke. Later that evening, after the apprentice had returned to the transport, Patrick called Lucas over to the bed of his pickup.
Lucas, come here a minute.
Lucas walked over, wiping grease from his hands onto his jeans. Patrick reached into the truck bed and pulled out the steel, its bar polished but scarred from decades of use.
You are ready to call a tree. This saw's been in my hands 42 years. Now it's yours.
Lucas took it. His hands shook, the weight of the old saw settling into his grip.
I won't let you down, Uncle Pat.
You don't need two cuts always, but you do need to feel it. That never changes.
Lucas stood in the fading light, the chainsaw a bridge between generations. The weight of the legacy lay not in the metal, but in the knowledge passed through calloused hands. 5 years passed over the Tillamook forest. Rain, snow, and sun cycled through the ancient stands. The steel chainsaw sat on a stump near the old logging site, polished and oiled, waiting. Patrick's hands, now gnarled and covered in age spots, rested on the handles one last time. The old report was just a footnote now, but the apprenticeship program had quietly changed a dozen lives. Then, from deep in the woods, the bark of a chainsaw ignited, sharp, confident. Lucas was in the cut, the saw humming the same song his uncle had taught him. The tree he was felling was a twin of the one that started it all. 200 feet, 2 cuts, 1 whistle. Back at the stump, the older saw remained still, a silent witness. The forest closed around the sound, holding it like a secret. Some things can't be taught in a lecture hall, only learned through soil, sap, and time. The 2 reserved trees still towered beside the gap, their trunks unscarred by the impossible fell. At their base, the mossy stump had softened into the soil, feeding the forest. The felled giant lay buried in ferns, its rings slowly returning to the earth. A phantom whistle threaded through the canopy, then surrendered to birdsong. The forest kept the secret close, speaking only in the creak of old wood. On Melora, the official probability remained untouched, 0.002%. But in a diner, a logger with sawdust on his flannel might grin and order coffee. Apprentices learned to listen to the hum of a sharp chain, the lean of a tree, and on the screen, the faded words. They still don't know how he did it, and they never will.